Ah, yes, I am Kuang Yi, yes, and energies are changing, and some of you are feeling the impelling feeling, all right? So impelling, we use that word on purpose. Channel says, what's that mean? Impelling, so inside, compelling, that is moving energies around that are mostly in the plexuses of the nerves connected to the chakras, which means that they will be connected to your spine. So if you have any kind of weakness in your spine, it's going to be exacerbated by the numbers of potential frequencies that you're going to be able to handle is one word, but being able to tolerate is another word, yes. So, but when it makes your body feel weird, and the stomach is another pinpoint right now. If you're having upset stomach from time to time, realize that there are sharp energies that are penetrating this reality, and if you can handle them, that's wonderful. If without any noticing, if you notice them, don't pay much attention. Eat something that's mild. Don't keep your belly too full. Know that you are purifying yourself, whether you've chosen to or not, at that level of human, but at the level of beyond personality and that level of your intensity of soul. Of course, you have complied, you have said, and you have dictated into this world that this is the time. And so there are going to be a lot of changes coming, most of which will not be understood or be able to be taken at face value. So it isn't as though you need to have a little magnifying glass on whatever you're looking at, or a little secret code ring so that you can decode everything. But do pay attention and do recognize that the messaging systems in your world, just as it is with texting. Some people know that texting letters, how they just make a couple letters and they're making a whole word. So the shortening up of communication has happened, and you want to be careful when you shorten up that you're still putting the same meaning, all right, or the same thrust of energy behind what it is you're saying as you are intending. All right. So because texting, people can't tell what someone's mood is. They can't know what's going on. So when you're directly talking with someone, remember that you are carrying a lot of frequencies, and you are liable for those frequencies, yes. And if you find that you're a little out of sorts, or that one of your emotions is at the top of the list for you right now, just know that these are connected to experiences, awarenesses that you've had in the past, and those things that you are clarifying, which are each and every one connected to a chakra. All right. So the chakras are being we won't say balanced, because definitely it's raising a storm in some of the chakras for people. And so sleeplessness is one of those activities, but you can know that it's not going to harm you to not have some sleep for a period of time, but it is going to disrupt the flow or the organization of how your mental body has been organizing your life. And you think you should go to bed at such and such a time. You think you should be this way. You think it should be that way. And you realize that the whole world has been running on a thinking clock. You know, it looks like Big Ben is just sitting there going around and around. But basically, if someone didn't get up there and set it for 12 o'clock when it was tabulated to be 12 o'clock, it would be out of synchronicity. So know that you can give into your everyday life a new way of being. A synchronicity of the past is not going to work, all right? So that has been manipulated, and we like that word. We like to start with that word today. So be careful to know that you have been manipulated. Don't take offense at that. No, you have been given ideas from other people because they need or want something from you, or they want to project onto you. And so you can be aware of that and give yourself a lot of leeway when it is you're communicating back and forth with someone, and perhaps you're not understanding or they're not understanding you. It would be like two different cultures, or two different countries, two different languages, moving the energy, but not quite understanding what's going on. So that's happening in the body. And so the chakras have had their own way of communicating. You know, they have a balance system where they spiral into one another, and when everything's spinning just fine, you don't notice anything going on. But when there's a disruption in one chakra, or an alternating how can we say this so that it makes sense? We were going to say alternating current, but what happens is that this isn't a smooth transition. God is not absolutely in charge with what is happening on the planet, because you get a chance to manipulate and bring yourself into alignment with what is going on. So you can give to yourself permission to be very, very try not to be contracted when you are communicating with someone. It's like keep your ears open and keep your judgments low, because people are confused. They are not awake, especially those who are changing, those that are growing, those that want to freedom in this particular life cycle. They're finding a lot of information about themselves and the world that's conflicting. And so when there's a lot of conflicting information, it's difficult to know which idea or which conversation to pay attention to, let alone stick in the back of your mind and use it for something else. So there's a lot of that going on right now. The very best part of what is happening at this point in time is that you will not be feeling this for a whole lot longer. That's the very best part. When it is you give yourself permission to acclimate to the not knowing, all right? Don't have to know how all things are going to turn out, how they will work out. Just be in your moment, all right, and be perfectly okay with it as best you can. And notice that, if you were threading a needle, you would have your eye right on the thread and the needle. It would be very focused, and that's the kind of focus that will bring you into alignment with yourself, because that focus pushes away or eliminates everything that is outside of it, because you are focused on that one point. So it's pinpoint awareness. This is very, very useful at this point in time. You've given yourselves permission over the last year or so to be flexible about what is coming over in the communications of the communication lines, the airwaves, broadcasting. And so you want to know that you can be permeated by too much information, which you really understand, and you also can be making a lot of judgments and judgment calls now, because you have had so much information, you've made some decisions. So be careful with that. It doesn't mean you have to turn on and absorb every piece of communication that comes your way, but realize that every day, day by day, there is new information that is coming out that is helping another level of person's awareness. Those that did not catch on last year, and those that did not catch on 6 months ago. And now there's another level of type of communication with more information that pinpoints and directs information to that group of people. And so there are several different levels after that that are going to need some explanation or some reinforcement. So as far as what's happening with the people that got the jab, we want to just say this about it, is that it is not on schedule like was thought to be, that within 6 months, to a year, people would be dropping over and feeling very poorly. So relax with that and start using your energy, especially for your loved ones. Yes, that put themselves in the situation of what's called the jab, that you can help them to alter the part of their decision-making process to take the jab was fear. All right. And then the other part was the will to be in alignment or compliance with others, so wanting to be accepted. And you can see that that's the larger part of what's happening at this point in time, acceptance. So from your own point of view, know that, yes, it has probably affected you a little bit about being accepted because you wanted to go here, or maybe you wanted to have this other experience, and there was a ruling that said, no, you can't do that. So you got a chance to feel that and feel the exclusion of oneself because of certain determinants. And that has gone on since the beginning of time, the exclusion of others because of whatever the reasoning is. And so we're talking about the indigenous, for most part here. And those that have a different color skin, those that have a different way of eating, all the different things that other people shut those out because they're unfamiliar. And when it is they are not familiar with what is happening, it's easier and habitual for them to say no. to the whole thing rather than to go into the experience. Especially now when everybody feels themselves so busy, it's difficult to put aside the time and say, well, I said no to that particular Tibetan meal, but maybe someday I will try it. Well, you're probably not going to get another chance right away to try a Tibetan meal. So be flexible. Know that you can give into your world a whole lot of light by being open to not only what we're going to call what is, but what is the fabric and makeup of the world. So change and difference is the fabric of the makeup of your world. And if you didn't have change and everybody stayed alive forever and ever and ever, it would be a very different culture. Yes. And so you don't want to necessarily think in terms of, I am going to maintain my way, whatever that turns out to be, or whatever you've manifested your own way. So trying to maintain your household or maintain your schedule or maintain anything that's in the maintenance box, unless if it is a water knob, something that needs quick attention, just let it be what it is, and you don't have to take immediate care of it. So know that. All right, so what are we mostly moving toward in our communication with you, and continually doing so, is to recognize that you are definitely not this human, that you are inhabiting a body. All right, so you're not this. And all the components of who you are made up in your mind. All right, so you have a liver, but your liver has been affected by what you put in your mouth and what you ate and what else is going on and what your surroundings are like. So all of that has been affected. And so the continual effects will go on and on and on. You can't stop that unless you do a fasting or you do a hibernation. You go away and hide in a cave for a while. That's when you can stop the process, pretty much, unless your brain is really working overtime. So give yourself a lot of room to play, right? So to be able, that play state when someone is feeling like they're in motion or moving, even if it's sports, someone that is moving their body and has the flow going on. It is as though there is it's not elasticity, but there is a flexibility, in the muscles, the connective tissue, where everything is having a little exercise back and forth, but also your brain, right? So having a little exercise back and forth is like, yes, it's okay, not it's okay. And watch that. So being the main observer of your life is really important. To be able to, you can feel what's going on in your muscles or in your stomach or your back or your head, or you can watch your hair, or you can do whatever you want. But you don't want to get involved with it. You want to just watch it as though it is something going on the other side of a window. Just put the window up. You can think in terms of that. Say, I'm going to put my window up now because I don't want to be all deeply involved with what is happening, so that I'm lost and my emotions get wound up in what is going on in this particular show or this particular production that is going on. Now, if it's yourself that is having the show and having the production, that makes it a little more difficult to put the window up, but you can do it. Because if you are, let's say you have to scratch your wrist or scratch your arm, and you can feel it, you can feel the scratching, you can watch it with your eyes and then feel the scratching and watch it and then notice what the itching is feeling like, which is the third component. But you don't have to do that. You can let your intuition or your movement in your body say there's an itch. You can scratch it. You're detached from it in as much as you can see it, and there's a different level of acceptance, and perhaps you could even see your body more clearly. You could feel the feelings more clearly, and everything will become more intense when you go into the observer mode from a perspective of being able to be part of what is happening, right? So the whole is part of it, right? You're not separating and detaching and from your body. No, you're just getting into this observer mode so that you can have complete awareness of perhaps even your aura as you go to scratch. There's so much more to see than what you've been able to see. And so many different ideas that pop up in the head. That's a simple observation that we're talking about, but when it comes down to watching your mind, because that's what yoga is, isn't it? It's the changing of the watching the workings of the mind and bringing the mind into harmony, right? And the body has asanas that it does, and that's really important. And there's mudras and there's mantras and there's all those other facets. But for the most part, if you just practice watching yourself, and watching, especially if you're in a situation that feels uncomfortable, watching yourself, you can be with the experience but not get all lost in it. It's a little difficult if you're having a very hard time about a particular subject matter in your life and your brain wants to crank it over and over and over again. That makes it even more difficult. But that's the way in which you're in the loop. And it's even more important to be able to pull yourself out of the looping that is going on and be able to watch it, and you don't have to stop the loop. You don't have to say, stop it, brain, stop thinking like that. Pull yourself out and you watch it, and then there is a letting go of the intensity of the entanglement, which gives relief to your physiology, your breath, whatever has been involved in what it is you're thinking about, and you can give to yourself space in the situation, and it gives to you a way in which you can feel larger than your small personal self that may be having a feeling is like, oh, this isn't any good, I don't like it, I feel like a victim, I feel angry, all these different feelings keep coming, and they're yanking your body with it. But when you're observing, you're not getting yanked and pulled around a lot. And that would be lovely for people that have hypertension, people that have different things that go on in it, even diabetes. If people can detach from what it is they think they're getting from their life experience, they would do much better, right? So people with diabetes oftentimes have an overactive thought pattern about what is fair and how it all works out. That's interesting, yes?